Hello, hello, hello. Oh, subtitles are working. All good. I've moved a few things around, so I'm going to be looking at this screen rather than that screen for stuff. But hello, hello everyone. Hello Hogan. Hello Kieran. Nice to see you in the chats, my friends. I hope you're doing very well. My name is Fiona. I use she/her pronouns, and this is Too Long Didn't Read Tabletop RPGs, in which I go for an RPG that I've seen on my docket, on my Google Drive of shame, or on the bookshelf of terror, and we go through it and we see what we like about it, what we maybe would like to improve about it, and if anything about accessibility, because it's always good to learn more about different games. I hope you folks are doing very, very well today. I'm doing, well, a bit of a rush this morning. Sorry, a little bit of a, not a delay. What am I talking about? You guys didn't see anything, but I did finish off a few bits and pieces, and I was up early doing that, which is good. I've almost finished unpacking everything. I'm looking over at, I said, the aforementioned bookcase of terror. All these new RPGs are all done, which is excellent. I have my lights up finally. Not that I need them right now because it's absolutely gorgeous sunshine, but at some point I might need them for something else. So they're all done, they're all fixed. We'll say, and annoyingly, for some reason, this computer, which I helped build and did stuff, doesn't have a Wi-Fi adapter, so it can only be like put in for various reasons. It took me forever to try and link the lights to the computer. It's all fine, it works now, but that was 2 hours yesterday that I did not need to do. But yes, and so yeah, if you're first time here, if you're a return viewer, it's good to have you. Again, these sort of streams are just a nice way for me to speak aloud for a couple of hours. And get used to reading, like sight reading, etc. But also, I love games, so that's my sort of whole shtick, essentially. One thing I am going to do, though, I'm going to move the chat for me over to this side so I can see it easily. It says, hoping, there we go. That's so much better. So much better. Okay. So today, friends, TTRPG friends, enemies, and family, we are going to be looking at something called Solitaire, which I know you're thinking, oh, Fiona, that's not an RPG. It is an RPG. It is a collection of solo games by game designer Jeeyon Shim. I believe that is the way you pronounce their name, but do correct me otherwise, because again, I'm one of those people who is very bad at pronunciations. And yes, one thing I'm going to say right at the top of this stream is that I don't know if you would play these games. I actually play them. So it's a collection of solo RPGs, as we'll see. I've looked through it before, like ages and ages ago, but they got picked on my got picked on my random number generator, and I think what's good about it, as you'll see, is that it is it's nice to see how would you create games that maybe no one or maybe one or two people will play, because as always with solo RPGs is that they're more reflective than anything else, which is very exciting. That's what we're going to look at today. It's about 17 pages all told, and yeah, we'll go through it. And again, it might be very different to the normal RPGs that we're looking at. So first things first, always the quick sort of house rules at the beginning. Obviously, not sponsored by Jeeyon Shim. I played a few of their other games. They've worked with some other folks. Banana Chan, I believe they've worked with, and this is where all my knowledge goes completely out of the window. But they've done lots of RPGs, which again we will highlight as we go through. More to do with sort of artifact games, which I absolutely love artifact games, and I'll explain what those means in a second. But yeah, I obviously don't know them personally. I've bought their stuff before, but again, I'm not sponsored to say nice things about them. Equally, I am not a game designer. I'm just someone who runs a lot of tabletop RPGs for myself, both for content and offline. So I might have absolutely nothing to say. So this is more a critique, review, etc., rather than a criticism of stuff. Hello, Amanda Panda Sensei. Sorry, I can't even say your name. I'm so sorry. Amanda, nice to have you here, my friend. Hope you're doing well. I was just giving the house rules at the top of the stream, so thanks for joining us. Just on time. So like I said, this is just more of a review, so a critique of a thing rather than pure criticism, because again, I am not a game designer. I have my own opinions about certain things, and they're not valid all the time. And finally, definite massive, some content warnings at the top of the stream as well. So solo RPGs and reflective solo RPGs can lead us into places that maybe we're not expecting, and maybe we're not wanting to go there just now on a very nice sunny day. So I just wanted to say that at the top of the stream. I from the brief look through, I think one of the games involves blood. So a content warning for blood, or talking about blood rather. I will say this, I'm not playing the games on stream because nobody wants to see that particularly. if you come to do a too long didn't read, you need to come here for a performance piece. But the one mention of blood and harm, like sort of paper cuts in oneself, if you see what I mean, etc. I just want to just highlight that at the top of the stream in case that's not your jam. But also, take care of yourself. These are solo games, as I said, they can lead to places that are a bit uncomfortable, etc. So, found you from Girls Run These Worlds, and thanks for the content warnings. No problem, Amanda. Yeah, like I said, like from the quickest look through, I was like, just in case, because again, people's mileage may vary, and maybe they don't want to discuss this. But yeah, that's the whole point of the stream. I appreciate you've just come in just now. It's just that we look at RPGs, we sort of say what we like about them, what if anything can be improved, and they talk about accessibility because we are looking at them as a digital format. I don't have the books here per se. Right, I've done enough talking. You don't need to see big Fiona face constantly throughout this. We're going to go to the small Fiona. So first thing, as always, we're going to look at the page where you can get it. I've put a link in the chat, and I think it's the same link in the show notes. It was very difficult when I scheduled this stream a couple of weeks ago. It was down for a long time. I can't imagine why. But anyway, here's a link again if you want to have a look and read along. I will say, actually, let me get over to the page first. That may be easier. So this is what it looks like. This is the Jeeyon Shim's itch page. Let me actually open it up for me. There we go. And actually, why don't we look at all games by Jeeyon Shim? That might get my memory a little bit. Field Guide for Memory is the big one I have played through, and that's an absolutely excellent game. And that is again using the idea of artifacts. And what was great about that particular game was that every day you got an email with a prompt, and then it would allow you to think about it. It's almost like the word of the day kind of emails, etc. But I thought they were really good, etc. And have I been good? Solitaire is obviously what I know about. The current project is The Longest Rest. I actually don't know much about it. I'll be absolutely honest. But I'm hoping we'll find out some more information soon. I will say Jeeyon Shim's website is not the best website to find out what they're up to just now. It's not much there, which is a very massive shame, I found anyway. But again, a couple of years ago she won, the Diana Jones Emerging Designer Award, which is brilliant. It's a great scheme, so I highly recommend checking it out. Wait for Me, I think we have done Wait for Me now that I think about it. Let's have a... Yeah, we've done Wait for Me, which is the idea of that time travel and connections. Yes, we have done that on this stream. A very good game. Kind of enjoyed it. But again, you can go back and watch the stream, but it's not about this just now. So there's lots of stuff that you can check out about their games. Like I said, today we're looking at Solitaire, which is a collection of games just for you, which is good. So let's always, as always, we read through the sort of copy we see on the website. So what is it that people are going to look at? What's going to inspire them to buy stuff? So, and also, as always, keep hydrating. So we'll start with a quote, which is always interesting. So games connect us. Sometimes this connection is to fellow players, and sometimes it's to new stories we get to experience for a few precious moments. But Jeeyon's games do more. Introspective, therapeutic, and physical, they focus on connecting us to the natural world, our bodies, and our inner thoughts. They're deeply personal, and the connections they have form a permanence that no other games do. In doing so, they help to define a brand new wave of game design that we are just beginning to experience. This is Hakan. I'm so sorry that name. I'm going to absolutely hack it to bits. But Thorny Games and the Sign and Dialect. Dialect we have covered on this channel before. A very good game about language and stuff. So absolutely highly recommend checking out that stream, but also Dialect as well is very good. And then they've got a new game coming out. I don't know if it's Sign actually. I think it's a different name for it, which talks about alien language and aliens meeting humans for the first time. Sounds very good. Anyway, so Solitaire is a collection of 6 games for you, solitary player. Each game reflects the world within and without, whether you are contemplating 2 stages of your own transformation, a choice that you must make by the water, delicately placing seeds within rich soil, or staring into the heart of a candle flame as you let memories from your previous life slide by. And a note on safety. It's always good to have it sort of there on the page. All the games at Solitaire are meditative, reflective, introspective, and emotionally resonant. Read the text before you commit to play and check in with yourself before you dive in. I mean, you should always do that with any solo RPG games, but it's nice to have that in the copy, so to speak. Probably would have that higher up. So interesting to start with a quote, promoting, obviously, Jeeyon's games. Again, no problem with that. I would actually put that on the main website, the sort of the main site page and stuff like that. I wouldn't put it here per se. But anyway. note there is an updated version of this game will be posted in late winter 2021. Previous players always good access. There hasn't. The game I've got, I checked this with this because obviously this is where I bought it. The last time it was updated was 2019. So I don't think there's been an update to this, as far as I'm aware, but I could be completely wrong. Just to let you know that the version I'm looking at is 2019. Maybe because Jeeyon is probably looking at other RPGs, and that's absolutely fine. And unfortunately, there's no. What I do love about itch is that you can get community coffees that people put them up for sale, or if there's a fundraiser for it. Unfortunately, there isn't for this. So this game itself is $20 US dollars, so roughly about 16, maybe 17 British pounds or the like. And that might seem like a lot for a PDF that is 17 pages of solo games, but again, I feel like when we look at it, well, maybe we can get something. So I do think solo games, they are a very interesting, different way of playing and can give you really good experiences or really valuable experiences. So I think an interesting one. So I just don't want people to judge because, it's only got 17 pages. They have a low page count for $20. Just want to say that out there. So yeah, naturally, as far as I'm aware, there is no actual plays of these. And it makes sense. It's very rare we actually see actual plays of solo games. Now, obviously, there are those out there, and there's certainly podcasts and actual plays that do that. But it's more like I'm thinking like Starforge and nothing necessarily like it's something that's ongoing. So like Colossal is another example. We looked at Colossal a couple of weeks back as well. For something like this is like definitely a one-off, maybe an afternoon, etc. Again, I don't know if anyone's ever. I might be talking to completely the wrong audience here. There's a book in creator circles known as The Artist's Way, and it was written years and years and years ago. And the idea was that you take 12 weeks to really unblock your creative pause, so to speak. And one thing I gained from doing it, because I did it in the pandemic, there's two things. One was like morning pages, where basically you write every day, as soon as you wake up, 3 pages of A4, and it's just garbage. No one ever reads it. It's just you put out your feelings, and then you're ready for the day. Which is it was very good. I very much enjoyed it. I don't do it now, obviously, because life got in the way, but it was a very good exercise. But then the other sort of thing it suggested was these things called artist dates, where you would let you and your inner child go and do something every week. And it wasn't for content, and it wasn't for anyone else. It was just for you and what you wanted to do. So it would suggest stuff like going for a walk or going to an art gallery, etc. For me, it was playing solo RPGs and not recording them for content. So yeah, I would suggest something like this as a way to reward your inner child to try something new and experiment and find out stuff. I'm always a big fan of like learning things, so that's what I again would suggest here. But again, your mileage may vary. All right, I've talked enough on that, so let's get rid of the Chrome browser. There we go. All right. Firstly, what a great cover. It's very rare we get photorealistic images as covers. And again, I don't know if this model is Jeeyon Shim or somebody else. I just think it's very nice. Very simple. I do wish it was full to the edges, or there was a frame of some sort. I think it's a very beautiful, very simplistic image, but it's just very capturing, and it's Solitaire, simple enough. So Solitaire game, a collection of games for you by Jeeyon Shim. And there we have the names of them. I do admit, again, I get it. It's a design choice, so I'm just moving it so people can see. I wish it wouldn't fade away. I understand it is a design choice, but why am I don't know what's happened there. But we have our 6 games. We have Pin Feathers, Cloud Studies, Dear Poppy, First Lesson, Crimson, and Grog. I believe Crimson is the one that involves bleeding or a slight cut or something like that. So just heads up for that. I think everything else should be, touch wood, be okay. But again, just give you a heads up. So like I said, this is 17 pages, this document for Solitaire. So again, the games may vary per page. We'll see from there. So, hang on. Did it not say... Hang on, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I thought it said we had 6 games. Hang on, sorry. Yeah, collection of 6 games. There's only 5 of them here. If Pin Feathers and Cloud Studies are one game, Okay. Let's have a look see then. So the first game is Pin Feathers / Cloud Studies. So I'm going to zoom in a little bit. Let me know if you need it to be zoomed in even further, or if anything you would like to read out. So this is a solo game in 2 parts to be played back to back or in portions doing a fallow time, i.e., a long bus ride stuck in traffic, in the line at the DMV, border home, etc. I'd never heard of the term fallow time. Interesting, like a transitionary, like going from one place to B, and it's just that time, like a road trip. Playtime lasts just under 14 minutes. Oh, so is it like part 1 is Pin Feathers? I see. Yeah, I can see there's a title there. Okay, so it's the same game, it's 2 parts. Okay. So, also 14 minutes is quite specific, isn't it? Rather than 15 minutes. Mechanics. If playing in 2 portions, the optimal conditions of play are when you are in slight discomfort that's not distressing for you for Pin Feathers, and when you can see the sky openly wherever you are for Cloud Studies. Pick 2 songs for each game. Something dissonant and uncomfortable to listen to for Pin Feathers, something soaring and crystalline for Cloud Studies. Oh, I'm always a big fan of having music things. Okay, ask yourself the following questions accompanying the game as the music plays, and embody your imagined answers as feels right and good to you. Okay. So, Pin Feathers. You are transforming. The pain of the process roots itself viscerally within you. Feathers sprout slowly out of every follicle of your body. Your bones throb with the ache of hollowing themselves out. You hate this, and you need to move through it. You can't go back to what you were. We have 4 questions here. Sorry, I thought I was going to sneeze. I've also not heard of the term fallow time, but I like it a lot. Yeah, it's quite nice, isn't it? So, 4 questions. Who will no longer embrace you once your transformation is complete? What are you eager to leave behind in the wake of your new body? Where will you go if you cannot stay here? And how will you be healed? Oh, is that it? Sorry. Sorry, that felt very, very dismissive. I was expecting like another part to this. Okay. So all it is answering prompts, and that's usually what solo RPGs are. It doesn't tell you like how often you need to, how long you should talk for, like if it's like a sentence or 2 or a paragraph. It's just, again, it's just a reflective thing, perhaps. How will you heal? It's an interesting one there. And then we go to Cloud Studies. You are flying. Some time has passed between your transformation and a soaring vista of open sky and clouds and jewel-like topography beneath you. Your wings catch each zephyr like a child skimming their hand through clear water. Oh, what a beautiful image that is. Here in the sky, you are a beacon, bright and distant as any star. 4 questions here. What compels you to dive when you see it glinting beneath you? Where have you built your home, and what kind of nest do you return to? 3. How do the clouds feel when you move through them? And 4. Who do you want to see as you are now, as you will be, and as you always have been? And then we've got a little thing. Thanks to Gavin Pinney for creating the Cloud Appreciation Society and reminding me that we don't live beneath the sky, we live within the sky. Oh, that's quite a nice acknowledgement there. Okay, so again, I'm going to say this as someone who is not necessarily like deep in like into the themes and stuff, but clearly here you can take lots sort of definite sort of themes and stuff like, you know, the idea of puberty, transitioning as well, the idea that it is painful going through parts of your life that are like horrible now, but you have to get through it. You know, it hurts you, whether it's a traumatic experience perhaps, or whether like a visual transformation like it's doing here. You know, transitioning, I can see sort of feelings here about, but also beauty as well. When you're young and you just want to break free and stuff like that, and going through those hard parts of your life. So it's like, yeah, I can understand why it's been 2 parts here as a result. That's quite interesting. Why 4 questions is my thing. Why 4 questions? Because my head as a content creator, odd questions catch people's interest more. Like 3, 5, and 7. You never see 10 hey, 4 tips to make your DIY minis better. It's always like 3 top tips or 5 things you'll never believe. Number 4, that sort of thing. So I would think you'd add another question here personally. 5 questions makes more sense to me. And also, I feel like 14 minutes is quite a abstract time. For me personally, I feel like you could suggest like half an hour or something like that and really focus on these questions. Like, again, you don't have to be flippant with these questions. There's no guidance for like how would you answer these per se. Like, do you think about them? Do you write down them? Do you speak them aloud? You could do all these things with sort of. There's no one right way, but it'd be interesting to have suggestions for it, I think. And then I guess the only mechanics is that when you're in slight discomfort and when you can see the sky opening. So the sky opening is obviously slightly easier, perhaps. Slight discomfort. I feel like if you're in slight discomfort, maybe you're not in a place to play a game, and maybe you're not focusing on it. So yeah, so maybe you're in a bit of grief state, or maybe you're a bit angry, perhaps, or something like that. That's the optimal play for it. The songs idea I like quite a bit. I guess maybe the reason it's 17 minutes, it's 2 songs. I think I understand now. So if you pick 2 songs for each, you have until the end of the second song to finish your questions. That makes more sense. And if a song is roughly about 3 minutes long, 3.5 minutes long, that would make sense. That would be, 7 minutes, 14. There you go. Wow. In that case, then I would say pick 3 songs. 3 songs for each of the games. Okay. And then we'll move on. So there we go. Anyway. Next up, the second game, or third game, depending on how you're seeing this, is called Dear Poppy, a journaling game about caring for someone who's changed. Oh, wow. So it says, write down responses for each of the prompts in your journal. Note that gameplay for Dear Poppy takes at least 7 non-contiguous weeks. Holy heck, that's a very long time to play a solo game by yourself. So we have game materials. We've got potting soil, small seed pot with good drainage, seeds, instructions for planting them, water, loose paper, small journal, and pencil. So this is definitely more of like an artifact game. You loved someone, and one day you found that they changed. Who were they? Circle once. We've got your friend, lover, or your child. Ooh, interesting. Maybe not a work colleague. someone you care for. Maybe I'd have an option to have other. Where you normally meet them at their home, where you would normally meet them at their home in bed next to you in their own room, instead you find a small cluster of seeds waiting expectantly. And the questions to answer before the tending. What were 4 things about your loved one you remember the most vividly? Or what were the 4 things that the two of you shared that you shared with no one else? What were What were the 4 things your loved one what were the 4 things about your loved one you wish you could recall with more clarity? Well, that's a good question. What were the 4 things that you shared with them and delightfully shared with others too? Again, we've got 4 questions. We're putting a sort of like a square sort of thing, and 4 things. 4 things. Those were 4 things. Again, then I would put like a fourth option here. Your mourning period has passed. You still miss their smile, their embrace, their funny face, and the comfort of hearing their voice. But you feel accustomed to this change in that now you've decided it's time to plant them. The tending. So day 1, write a letter to your loved one on the loose paper. As you address them, write in the present and future tense. After all, they are not gone. You might be able to hold the entirety of them in the palm of your hand, but there they are. They haven't died. They're just simply dormant, waiting to germinate. Write to them with all the tenderness, love, and joy you hold in knowing them. Write from that place first. If you feel sadness, write from there too. They would not want you to hide yourself from them. Once you've written this letter, hold your loved one, the seeds, in your hand and read the letter to them. Let your breath pass over their outer hull. See if they respond to you by moving gently in your palm. Tear up the letter into small pieces. Set the potting soil loose in the pot. Fill up to a third, presumably with soil. Yep. Scatter half the letter in the dirt. Fill up another third. Scatter the rest of the letter again, and then fill it up all the way. Do not pack it in too tightly. Your loved one's roots need to be able to travel down easily. Plant your loved one according to the instructions for planting whatever kind of seed they are, and then water them. Okay. Week 1. Start your journal with an entry in response to this question. What are you now grateful for in planting your loved one? Continue watering and tending your loved one daily. Tell them you love them every time you water them. If they sprout within the first week, sometimes they are very precocious after their change. Move them to an appropriate sunny or shady spot in your home. I will say, I'm not someone that's very good at gardening, so I do feel like I might do something really bad if I did do this game. Week 2. Write your second entry in response to the 2 following questions. What are you now grateful for in the act of planting your loved one? What are you grateful for in intending them? We have repeated that first question. Okay. Continue watering and tending your loved one daily. Tell them you love them every time you water them. Monitor them for over or underwatering and signs that they're getting the right kind of light they need. I see now. I can see here. Week 3 we have 3 questions. Week 4 we have 4. Okay. So week 3, write your third entry in response to the following 3 questions. What are you now grateful for in planting your loved one? What are you grateful for in tending them? What are you grateful for now in how they've changed? Continue watering and tending your loved one daily. Tell them that you love them every time you water them. Monitor them for over or underwatering and signs that they're getting the right kind of light they need. Think of a joke to tell them next week. And then the 4th week, write your 4th entry in response to the following 4 questions. What are you now grateful for in planting your loved one? What are you grateful for in tending them? What are you grateful for now in how they've changed? And what are you grateful for that now you've used to... Oh, what are you grateful for that you used to do together, now you do by yourself to honour their memory? Continuing watering and tending your loved one daily. Tell them you love them every time you water them. Monitor them for over or underwatering and signs that they are getting the right kind of light they need. Mark a passage in a book you are reading that you think they would like, and share it with them next week. Okay. Week 5. Write your 5th entry in response to the following 5 questions. What are you now grateful for in planting your loved one? What are you grateful for in tending them? What are you grateful for now in how they've changed? What are you grateful for that you used to do together that now you do by yourself to honour their memory? And finally, what are you grateful for now that is new in your life that you think they would like to know? As always, continue watering and tending to your loved one daily. Tell them that you love them every time you water them. Monitor them for over and underwatering and the signs that they are getting the right kind of light they need. Think of something funny or charming or lovely that happened to you this week and tell them about it. This does sound like a very lovely game. Yes, I like it. I think for me, it's coming across like the idea of like, obviously tending to friendships, right? That's what I'm guessing, is that idea that you should tend to your friendships and you should check in with them daily, perhaps. Tell them that you love them. I think that's always a very good thing to tell your friends or your loved ones. Monitor them to make sure that they're not overwhelmed or like that sort of thing. I quite like. Make sure they're getting the right light they need. Are they hydrated? I like the idea that you do something different each week of like something funny or chatting or charming. Also, hi Kieran, it was nice talking to you. I'm still sewing. Oh, okay. All right. Let me see. Where were we? Oh, yes. Week 6. Write your 6th entry in response to the following 6 questions. What are you now grateful for in planting your loved one? What are you now? What are you grateful for in tending them? What are you grateful for now and how they've changed? What are you grateful for that you used to do together now that you do by yourself to honor their memory? What are you grateful for now that's new in your life that they should that you think they should would like to know? And then finally for this week, what are you hopeful for them, for yourself? Continue watering and tending to your loved one daily. Tell them that you love them every time you water them. Monitor them for over or underwatering and signs that they're getting the right kind of light they need. Nothing extra here. Weeks 7 and onwards. Think about whether your loved one needs to be repotted soon, and pick out a new lovely pot for them if they do. Think about if you want to keep them inside with you, or whether they would be happier being planted somewhere outside. You know there are hazards either way, mites, mildew indoors, animals, or blight outdoors, but nonetheless you love them, and part of loving them means knowing them as they are, anew, as this tender, green, beautiful living thing. You watch the miraculous stretching transformation of their germination and sprouting. You've marvelled at their, translucence, as the light shines through their stalk and leaves. You felt how fragile their form is under the soft, hesitant touch of your hand grazing them as they move ever upwards. You will bear whatever comes with grace. They will grow. You will love them, and you will always love them. Kieran says, I really like the way the game keeps asking you to think of something to share with a loved one. This really feels like the sort of thing which catches you by surprise when grieving a lost relationship. Absolutely. I think it's, and often, again, speaking from my own experiences here, not wishing to put that on anyone else, like, you sometimes catch yourselves and you're like, oh, so and so used to really love this topic. And maybe you have to catch yourself because maybe that person you don't speak to much anymore for various reasons, or, a breakup or a friendship that's sort of like petered out for various reasons. So I do quite like how it talks about that. Didn't have that for week 6 though, which I think was a shame. I think it would be nice to have had something for week 6. I guess maybe it's hoping, you'd come this particular prompt would be useful for that. What are you hopeful for them, for yourself? And I like the ending as well, because ultimately it is about caring for someone as they grow up. Maybe another what's the word? Analogy for, like children growing up, as they grow up, they need protecting, they need looking after when they germinate, and then they're going to grow into beautiful human beings who have their own thoughts and opinions and stuff. And you can't always help them, but you remember how fragile they were when they were younger, and so they grow up in the and you'll always love them no matter what. So there's that there as well. Hello, it was lovely speaking to you as well. Good luck with your sewing. I look forward to the end result. Would definitely recommend future TLDRs. It's always a highlight of my week. Oh, that is very kind, Kieran. Thank you so much. Unfortunately, my horror adult brain is coming up with all sorts of twisted ideas from the game. Might play those ideas for writing later. But it's very sweet and I like it a lot. Oh, thank you, Amanda Panda. Yeah, no, again, I'm the same. To be fair to you, like, again, I'm the same with horror stuff, but it's a solo, as most solo games are they often tend to go to the horror side quite a bit, because unfortunately that's where our brains go. But here, I think, as obviously the more you either have very reflective or very horror. So I think either way is good. You definitely could see like this little shop of horrors sort of thing happening. But I like it. It's nice to just but again, my criticism, which I know is very silly for this, because like, how can you criticize again? You have to commit 7 weeks of time, and unless you're already a person that does this sort of thing, I think it could be hard work. I don't think solo games should be hard work. I think you should enjoy them. So it's interesting to read about this per se. I like the idea that, again, doing it, it's just a different way of playing. So I like it, but I don't know if I would actually do it unless I already had something already growing. I don't know. I do love the concept though. Love the idea. Like, for me, thinking about it, I could make it, like, again, audio logs and talking and stuff like that, but would I show the plant, like, as it grows or something like that? I don't know. It's, again, just a different way of doing it. Okay, so next on is the first lesson. No content warnings at the beginning here, but I'm sure we'll find out. I feel like this is therapy cosplaying as games to trick nerds into healing and self-acceptance. I mean, lots of solo games are like that, to be fair. I will say, just for the sake of it, because I got corrected on it as well, games are therapeutic, but they are a replacement for therapy. Because, if you need help, you absolutely should go help and not just play D&D. But yeah, I agree. I think it's weird because, like, for me, solo games, depending on what they are, there can be therapy and stuff, but or therapeutic. Sorry, there you go, and healing stuff. But I don't think it's the be all or end all. It's a way to think about things and reflect on things, which I always think is very important, and that's okay. And to do it safely with yourself. And same thing with 2-player games as well. I would highly recommend, again, for those people who are interested. So I spoke to 2 different experts in therapeutic RPGs. The RPG therapist is one, Daniel Hans. This is on Where, my podcast, who talked about, for him, doing one-on-one therapy sessions using his own system with younger clients, and that was very interesting. And then Game Therapy UK with Gary Coleman, as in not the Gary Coleman, the Dr. Gary Coleman, and he was saying that he used RPGs for a way to people to connect with each other, certain groups that maybe get sort of go through the cracks of society. So people who are experiencing homelessness, people, war veterans was another example as well. So people who've gone through certain experiences and then having to readjust to what life is now. And it can be quite hard because obviously you've been through certain experiences and maybe you're more vulnerable, or maybe you can't talk about those experiences. So, like, for example, he talked about, like, they were playing Call of Cthulhu, and he had to be very much like, hey, there's lots of stuff about insanity here, or mental health stuff. Is this okay for the veterans? And they're like, oh, absolutely. We much prefer playing it in this game like here, because then we like to re-experience going through that. That's for us, and again, as long as everyone else consents on it, we think it's safe. We can do it safely here, and we don't, if there's a problem, that we can work together. And so they would prefer games like that. And again, that's not for everyone. It's just always interesting. D&D is not therapy. Pathfinder, however, just kidding, I swear. I mean, I don't know. Pathfinder feels very crunchy, so it feels more like homework. I was about to say, like Gary Coleman, thanks for clarification. But yeah, that's all really cool. Yeah, no, it's very good. And I hope Game Therapy UK expands. They're doing a lot of sort of stats and what's the word, papers and stuff. Like, there's not, again, therapeutic games isn't necessarily a area which is funded by the NHS or hospital. Like, again, it's that sort of thing going, tell you what, if you want to lose weight, go take a salsa class, go take a Zumba class. And you're like, that's not very helpful, if people can't afford those sort of things. And the same thing as well, people might not be able to afford playing D&D on a regular basis, even though realistically role-playing games you should be able to do it with the power of your mind, but so they do lots of fundings in terms of, like, getting starter sets to people and all that sort of thing. So I highly recommend checking them out. I'll see if I can find the link to their website. And it's actually, I find it fascinating, the sort of scientific area of it. So what they do, they produce papers and academic studies, and therefore when they go, right, so we've done this research, please give some funding so that we can do these projects. So I do think it's a way forward. So yeah, highly recommend checking it out. Kieran says, solo games were my introduction to RPGs. Oh, fantastic. And that came about because I really needed something to help me with my self-reflection at the time. They still hold a very dear place in my heart, and I still really enjoy them. Oh, that's really wonderful, Kieran. If you don't mind sharing, which solo RPGs did you play as your sort of introduction? Was there any one that stood out to you as a favourite? I'd love to know. All right, let's get back into it. Sorry, I've been talking way too long about therapeutic games. So first lesson. I will say I would like a bit more of a what it is. Because obviously it tells you to read through the game before you play. But I feel like it would be nice to be like content warnings at the top or a little bit of description. It's fine. So circle one of the following. Are you a mermaid, selkie, or a siren? Okay, so sort of a femme presenting a folklore creature, or to do with the sea of some sort. Okay. So 1. On the shore at night. The sea used to be your bower and garden, your hearth and home, no longer, not for a long time. How did you lose your place in the tide? Standing before it now, feeling the damp crumple of sand beneath your bare feet, something inside you keens with terrible longing. What do you yearn for? You sacrificed everything for them. Who did you cleave yourself in two for? Oh gosh. In your hands, you cradle something. Your skin, your voice, or your lover. In brackets, what's left. Very much like a Hans Christian Andersen version of The Little Mermaid, huh? It's time. You have to release it. You have to. When do you throw your cargo into the water? I now have the maiden and the selkie looping in my head. In a community swimming pool, daytime, so part 2. Physical therapy extended further and further out the more you broke down until it finally led you here. What ailments seeped into your body over time? The pool is a hollow simulacrum of the vast expanse you used to roam, but the buoyancy you feel in the water comforts you. When you close your eyes, what do you imagine around you in the water? Tendon and muscle twinges in response to the new ways you gently work them. It's not the same as when you streaked sleek and powerful through the sea, but right now, it is enough. How do you settle in just a little more into realizing what this body can do for you? You think about the humans you've seen, from below, serenely floating on their backs. You wonder what that feels like. Ooh, okay, so you're looking up at them underwater. Choose one. So you either you feel comfortable floating on your back, or you do not feel comfortable floating on your back. Oh, it's times two. I will say, I appreciate. I've not really talked too much about the formatting of this particular thing. So currently, not many in terms of images. Oh, I didn't even check for alt text. I'm so sorry. I always try and check for alt text at the beginning. Surprisingly not, which is a shame. Always a shame. It is sort of laid out in quite a nice, clear way. I will say, like, again, personally speaking, what would be nice is, like, clearly, like, these bits here in italics are like, this is to you, the player in character, and then here are the questions. It'd be nice to have maybe a box or something, or maybe have a little bit of like indication to that's what it is. Like, you know, oh, read this aloud, or this is the context of what you're playing. So I feel like here, like, again, the headings help here quite a bit. But like when you want to read something, or something that is like, this is part of the game world now, just having it in italics sometimes isn't strong enough for me. Anyway, sorry. Because like here, we've got some nice big gaps between stuff, which is great, and it's also centered as well. I don't think it's centered on the. Yeah, these aren't necessarily centered. These cover out. They're a bit bigger. Obviously, there's more questions here in the poppy one, and then it goes centered again. Interesting. I hadn't noticed that it was centered. Again, it helps for reading like online as well, having it centered. But maybe if it was a physical book, you wouldn't want it centered aligned. All right. So, if you feel comfortable floating, let your feet leave the concrete floor and lie back gently and wide. Feel your rib cage swell and sink with the air you breathe. What holds you now that only you can feel? If you do not feel comfortable floating, let your feet find purchase on the concrete floor. Hold your hands out in front of you, cupping them as though you are supporting something very precious to you. What do you hold that only you can see? My first one was The Wretched, not necessarily the wisest decision I've ever made, given how heavily it leans into the themes of isolation. I was going to say, oh, great game though, but it was still really helpful and enjoyable. I knew after that I wanted to try others, and I did so, less horror-heavy ones, but since then I've enjoyed other Wretched and Alone games, so yeah, the hack of them, excellent. The one that really stands out to me is Anamnesis. I have issues with memory loss, and I felt like that one dealt with the theme very sensitively and kindly. Yes, absolutely. Sam Lee, who wrote Anamnesis, although I will say I'm very bad at pronouncing that name, so I have to think about it very hard. They've got the upcoming Death of the Author, which uses the same tarot card system, which is really, and I read through it. It's a very good system. So I've read. I mean, I'm sure you've already checked it out, Kieran, already on the back of it, but it when it comes out, I think you will really enjoy it. Then, if you really enjoyed Ananesis, you'll enjoy that system, but obviously using the same process of like you are a character in a fictional story and you're fighting against the author, which I just think is great as a result. And yeah, I also what I loved about Ananesis as well. Yeah, because it's interesting. Like, yeah, memory loss is can be a big line for people as well. Like, either dealing it with themselves or people who have close friends or relatives that also suffer from memory loss as well. And certainly during the COVID as well, people obviously had long-term and short-term memory loss because of it. So it is one of those things where you're just like, oof, trying to, you know. And I think I'm always a big fan of games which try and talk about these experiences, as you absolutely say, sensitively and kindly, and having those up there. Like, I spoke to, slightly off a different tangent, but I spoke to Yvris Burke, the designer behind Drama Llamas, and her new game coming out is called Jude's World. It's going to come out in August. A solo, I think tarot card game. Or maybe just normal playing card game, and that one is about divorce, and it's based off a bit of like Parent Trap and It Takes Two, the video game. And the idea of like you are playing a teenager who doesn't understand necessarily like people, are trying to force their parents back together. And is that something that you should be doing? And then, and then like are you able to grow up and stuff like that? But again, if you say, oh, it's a solo RPG game about divorce, people might be like, what? Why would we play that game? But I'm really looking forward to that when that comes out, because I think that's a really cool. I think Yvris as well, she's brilliant. I think she's great. But I think it's just a way to do an experience that she had and try and do it sensitively. And like, watching these Disney-fied movies of like people being forced to be together, even though they're clearly not meant to be together and stuff like that. And it's like, that's really wild. And why don't we talk about those experiences and stuff? So yeah, so those are my two recommendations if you would like them. Death of the Author and Jude's World are coming up for solo games. So yeah. But no, The Wretched I really love. You might have already heard this or whatever, but I interviewed Chris Bassetti, and they obviously do soundtracks for stuff. They do soundtracks for Orbital Blues, and they also did it for The Wretched. And I asked the question of like, how do you like author or compose a soundtrack to an RPG that you don't know what you're going to come across? And they said, well, actually, I played through The Wretched obviously a couple of times for playtesting, and then I just scored my own experience through my playthrough. So what you're listening to, the soundtrack, is a soundtrack to my playthrough, which no one has ever heard, because obviously it's my playthrough. And I was like, wow, blew my mind. I just love that idea. Anyway, sorry. Okay, so number 3. Immersed in a bathtub with fresh, hot water and Epsom salts. The water should be very warm, not hot, but comfortable to the touch. Add Epsom salt whilst the water is running to help it dissolve. For a standard sized tub, use the amount suggested on the package, usually 1 or 2 cups, or the amount recommended by your doctor. In this frank mammalian body, you find yourself craving warmth in a way your kin would find compromising. You've come to enjoy it. The bath water covers you in a thick, heavy blanket. How did the seasons pass in the sea you come from? What did it feel like as the world cooled and warmed around you? The sea did not constrain you. Its vistas are limitless, and you traverse them without a thought for the meaning of confinement. Everything on land is a plate, or a cup, or a bowl, a cage, you used to think. But you've learnt to know the difference between a prison and a vessel. You feel the walls of the tub around your body, and they comfort you. How does the bath water feel as you let it soak into your skin? You add salt to all your baths. Your physical therapist says it helps with muscle tension. You like it because sometimes you hold your breath and sink under the surface, and the sting of briny water at your lash line reminds you of home. Your home where you used to live in the truest part of yourself. And your home here in this body, the home of this body. When do you know it is time to leave the water? Oh, and that's it. Oh, okay. Interesting. So let's go back a little bit. There's a much longer one, the first lesson. I'm not sure why it's called the first lesson, I'll be honest. But again, I like that idea. Again, to me, what I'm sort of sensing from this is like recovering from some sort of very traumatic thing that's happened to you, possibly an accident or an injury, etc., and then having to go through that physical therapy, that sort of that healing process, and finding something that reminds you of the before times, so like the idea of the water. What I didn't realize per se is that obviously there's instructions here, certainly in that third part, to get in a bath, right? And maybe you would then go to a community swimming pool, perhaps, to do that second part. And if you want to go to a shoreline at night, again, would prefer if it said this at the top. So again, maybe it's spoilers, but it says like, hey, when it says location, do try to go to that location. I definitely think, again, it's a nice way of thinking about things. And I can see it almost told like in like a film way. Again, I don't know if I would play this for me. I mean, if I was doing it for content, yeah, I might take like a microphone to the swimming pool. I do like, because clearly here, when you choose the options of like, do you feel comfortable floating on your back or you don't feel comfortable on your back? Again, it's asking you, the player, that, right? Because obviously, you might not be able to swim for whatever reason, so that you can still take part in the game. So I do like the idea that it has 2 options there. I think that's quite good. Epsom salts are interesting because I think they should be an alternative, because they are quite expensive as well, depending on where you get them. So maybe just some sort of bubble bath as well, perhaps. But I guess the idea is that it's supposed to be salty, so it's, again, it makes you think of the sea. I guess that's what it's trying to do. I love some of this imagery here that we have, like the idea that you've lost something, your skin, which again, that idea of the Selkie stuff, your voice, your lover, oof, that you were once seen as like a monster or a folklore creature, and now you're having to fit in. Again, that idea of transitioning and changing bodies and stuff, and that you feel that you've gone to a worse place, perhaps, but actually you're now readying yourself to accept the body you have, perhaps. That's how I feel it here. And like, when do you know it's time to leave the water? Is that, I can imagine that just like, and fade to black or cut to black as you're about to get out of the water. Interesting. Interesting. Okay, Crimson. So, hey, we've got some instructions how to play it. So, how to play Crimson. So, Crimson is a solo player game. Oh, shocker. Do not talk for the duration of play. Do not let yourself be seen by any other person during any stage of play, especially the end game. Keep this game in the same place as you would keep your band-aids or gauze. Okay, so beware for injury. Play it the next time you cut yourself accidentally. So, for example, a paper cut, a nick from a box cover, a small jab from a kitchen knife. Get ready to play. Close your eyes. Take a breath. Open your eyes. 1. You are a homunculus. You've been in the world for a week and a day. The magician who created you died yesterday, and your skeleton is still turning from wood to bone, and your veins still run with water slowly turning to blood. 2. Put a small piece of white gauze on the cut. Watch the blood bloom through the cloth. 3. The bleeding is a sure sign that you are transforming. You are human and not human. 4. Put the blooded gauze in the brown. Oh, there you go. Put the blooded gauze in a small brown paper box. 5. What makes you human? Write it on the outside of the box. 6. What keeps you from being completely human? Write it on the inside of the box. Which are you committed to? Trying to push yourself to become human a little more every day for the rest of your days, knowing that you will never completely attain what you want, or withdrawing into the reality that you will never be like everyone else around you. If you're committed to being a human, find a tree and bury the box with your blood in the dirt by its roots. The human, if you wish to choose human. Homunculus. If you're committed to be that That was really weird. Yeah, still streaming. It said my OBS disconnected for some reason, but I assume I'm still streaming. Well, I'm sure we'll find out. Oh no, it's fine. On a similar note, I recently played a game called The Birthday, a solo map crawl about a strained relationship at a large family gathering. Story Brewers role-playing, right? Publishing even, sorry. Which I also felt led into the idea of needing to keep up appearances for the sake of those you love, and the stress that can exert on you. I have it. Yeah, I've not actually read through it. So I will take that recommendation for sure. Absolutely. And I was already very looking forward to the death of the author. Amazing. I'm very glad to hear that. Very glad to hear that indeed. Checking. Yeah, still active. So weird. Where did my little stream go? Where can it be? Am I still streaming, guys? Can you just confirm that rather than making jokes just in case? Because I think the OBS just sort of is still going on my end. There it is. Okay, fair enough. I'm just checking. Did anyone miss anything? Or did it cut out completely? That's so weird. It's still streaming. It's still streaming. Okay, great. Sorry, it just because my OBS was like, disconnected, reconnecting, and I was like, No worries, no worries. Okay, let's go back to Crimson then. So let's see. Crimson, interesting one. Again, so it's not about the self-harm or anything about it. It's about blood and about hurting stuff. I had to refresh. Okay, good to know. Good to know. That was really weird. I'll have to double check that afterwards. So the whole monkeyous idea of like not being completely human, choosing whether you wish to integrate yourself or into or sort of become more human and be sort of more like your friends and stuff like that. Again, masking a little bit as well. Or do you chuck that out and go, actually, no, I'm very happy with being who I am. I think that's super important as an experience, like having a choice, right? Do you go along with the crowd? Do you wish to fit in? That's fine. But if not, then you can choose that. And I think that's interesting. And both the actions you take is interesting. The humor is that you bury that box that you've made and hide it, or you throw it away and destroy it as a very active thing. So I thought those were quite interesting. And again, very short this game as well. Yes, interesting. And again, the formatting, I like this, but I do feel there's a little bit. Again, so we've got how to play it. It just doesn't feel very consistent with the other solo games that we've just looked at, personally speaking. Would I play this game? I probably would forget about it, to be honest with you. Again, it's one of those things where you would read it through and check it, and then it's like, oh yeah, I forgot to do it. So I think these games are quite hard to do in the moment. It's very hard to remember them. Okay, and then finally, we've got something called Grog. Just checking. Interesting. Yeah, I think it literally just restarted the stream. Weirdly enough, it's a bit annoying, but oh well, it's all fine. Grog is the name of a particularly fine particle matter added to clay to temper it before working and firing it. It can be made of a variety of materials, whilst different types of clay necessitate different proportions of grog. It is crucial to ensure that the finished works are both strong and flexible to withstand the act of creation. I will say, if anyone's done like a clay making class or a pottery class, it's incredibly difficult to do. We went for like a work outing ages and ages ago. It was really fun, but they also insisted, again, maybe each their own on this, that you could bring your own booze. And absolute mess. I didn't actually drink through that one. It's also preferred by the default drink of pirates. Well, that's it. And yeah, I wouldn't. Yeah, like I said, I wouldn't recommend pottery with doing pottery with drinking, because it was just not great. I always prefer like if you're drinking, again, each their own. But like when you're doing something with your hands, you're trying to make something. The last thing you want to do is be inebriated by it. So. You are a golem, being unmade by your creator in the wake of something that neither of you can take back. Well, that's interesting. We had the homunculus idea before, and now we have the golem sort of thing. Once the spirit of life passes your tongue, you will draw your first breath anew. Materials. So have a sugar cube, piece of chocolate, or other small food that will slowly melt on the tongue. And a small candle, like a tea light or a birthday candle, matched in a safe place to light it, and a glass of water. Your creator scratches out the holy letter carved in your forehead. You feel their fingers work and smooth the wound into a blank plane. Close your eyes. Think of 4 memories, 1 treasured routine or habit, 1 of something you believe in, 1 of something you did you cannot forgive, and an act of deep goodness you performed. Your creator sighs, or heaves a sigh, sorry. It sounds as though it came from very far away. You feel them place something on your tongue. So put the sugar cube or chocolate in your mouth and hold it in place in your tongue. They speak holy words over you, and you feel yourself slipping away. As the food melts, imagine your memories slowly becoming undone, losing coherence and form. Oh gosh. Light. You open your eyes. Strike a match and light the candle. Look into the flame. Once the sugar or chocolate is fully dissolved, drink the water and cleanse the residue of your past from your tongue. Oh, it's very ritualistic-like, isn't it? You cannot see anything past the light of creation. But if you see your creator's hand... you cannot see past the light of creation. But you feel your creator's hands cradling your face. Their skin feels impossibly warm and distant at the same time. Your lips part just enough for them to breathe the spirit of life into you. Take in a long, slow breath through your nose for the count of 3, and let it out through your mouth for the count of 6. Do this 4 cycles for a total of 4 inhales and 4 exhales. I think that's a very famous meditation technique as well. I can't remember what it's called, but it's supposed to reset your emotions. Your creator releases you. You feel the breath of time laid out before you like a path through tall grass. You feel yourself, you feel your own newness. You feel the year ahead in its splendor and unknowable glory. When you're ready, draw the first breath of your new life and blow out the flame. And I've got a little bit of a acknowledgement there for my mentors, past, present, and future. Interesting. Let's have a think then. So you're being unmade, but then given a new life, but almost being like wiped the slate clean away. So you're being unmade for some reason that neither of you can take back. You've done something that's happened that you have to be unmade and forget something. Interesting. And I like the definition of what grog is about this sort of matter to add to play to temper it, and it's just like perfecting it in some way. Yeah, it talks about again that idea of we talk a bit about anamnesis in a way. That idea of like losing your memories, like who are you if you don't remember what you've done? Are you still the same person physically? Possibly. Then it just becomes a Theseus sort of thing. So here I find it's really interesting. I like the ritualistic element of it. It's quite interesting, but again, it wouldn't be something you do for immersive theatre, perhaps, or performative theatre. It definitely is a reflective thing. I guess it's about forgiveness as well. Forgiveness of someone, maybe yourself. Because I'm always a big fan of saying if you are, if you feel like you've been a bad person in the past, of like I always think to myself, God, I would not have been friends with me if I was 10 years ago. Like the person I was 10 years ago is not who I am now. But maybe this is a way of like you thinking about that past life and treasuring it, being thankful for it, and then as it goes away, you come into the new life in some way. Very interesting. I like the ritual element of it. That idea of like maybe it's a way to reset your thinking about things. Like if something's happened and you feel really awful about it, taking that time to like focus on it, think of those 4 things, and then reset and be like, here we go again. And I like the finality of that, sort of like blowing the candle out and let's start the game again. I'm a big fan of like candles and that sort of theatre sort of a way of doing it. It's quite interesting. And there you go. That is the total of Solitaire. There's 6, or really 5 games to play for yourself. So what do we think? Again, a fairly short one, just an hour to get through. And a lot of it with me just chatting away, and then also we had that weird break in the stream, which seems to keep going. And I wonder if on YouTube it's still the same. I don't know. You don't know. So what do we think? I do like the cover. I think the formatting overall is fine. Like again, it's clearly stylized in a certain way of like to be read through. I think if anything, this is an RPG, so a collection of games, which is like almost like, here's an example of my work of what kind of ideas we have. I don't expect anyone to play them, and that is also absolutely fine. I'd say there are several games I've definitely read or tried to play, and they're not playable. They're just almost like a proof of concept, a proof of thought. I think my critique would be, you absolutely need to have content warnings for these games. I appreciate this is like this particular version of it came out 2019. Apparently there is a more updated version. I didn't see that on the itch page. And I think you need to have content warnings. You need to say what people are what to expect in these games. Like maybe even have like themes of like transitioning or like puberty or growing up. Like I think you should have that at the beginning so people can choose whether they want to like it or not. Like I look over at my big scary bookcase, and there's a book up there I know is called #Feminism. And what's great about that book, actually, sorry, I'm gonna get it. Get it. 1 second, let me go grab it. Ugh. Right. We'll get there. But one thing I like about this book, which I'll actually move to a bigger. Don't break everything. So this book, #Feminism, which is a nano game anthology. I'll read the back of it out. So looking at the world through a feminist lens reveals absurd, tragic, and fascinating situations. Written by feminists from 11 different countries, #Feminism offers bite-sized takes on contemporary feminist issues. Each of the 34 nano games in this collection requires between 3 to 5 participants. Simple, if any props, and up to an hour of playtime. So it tells you right at the beginning what it needs. They range from silly to serious, including scenarios about selfies, rom-coms, as well as reproductive rights and domestic violence. And of course, enjoyment has no ideological boundaries. No games here for participants new to feminism, as well as those experienced in making gender arguments on the internet. So again, quick talking about what this game is. What I like about it, just double check. I've got to check what it says because I was like, I can't just put one of these up. Restrictions. Let's do this one. Maybe people can't see it as well. But you see on the side there, she says, was it gonna? No, you probably can't tell too well. But it says, there we go. Yeah, so it says like how many players, how long it takes, the intensity of it. I'm not sure why it's droplets. I don't know if it's supposed to be like a menstrual cycle thing. Who knows? But obviously, anyone can be a feminist. doesn't rely on what you can produce or reproduce. And then some key words about what this kind of game is. So keywords here include soap operas, history students, and stereotypes. And I quite like how it's the same for all these things. There's one here called Manic Pixie Dream Girl Commandos. And same thing, you have all the stuff here. Supplies as well. I think that's always good. Maybe tears? I don't know, intensity. Anything that has like droplets like that, I instantly think of, for me, what comes to mind is period pads and like the flow. But yeah, I like how that's on the side. It tells you exactly what you need. Sorry, I was just trying to look at what you need for the game and like what it looks like. And that's a uniform layout so that you can look through it and go, oh, this is what we need for this, and we'll play it, etc. So it's really well laid out as a result. So I just feel like something like this, again, much older. Actually, when did this book come out? Sorry, you've got me talking now. Oh, and even then, like even on the contents page, it gives a breakdown as well of the different games and the showing how long it is, and roughly like the most you can see on here, like an hour. So I can't. There you go. That one's there an hour, whatever that one is. On page 30, mentioning the unmentionables, 3 games about anatomy of women, and then they're split up into like romance, women and the media, body, digital age, on the move, etc. Conclusions and how to make your own, write your own, So I quite like how that clearly has a clear layout. It shows stuff. Broaden horizons, step out of comfort zone. Dropping some killer recommendations lately. Loving it. Oh, thank you, my friend. Again, I don't know. I don't know if anyone would play these particular games. I don't know if you'd play this particular game or Solitaire. I very much appreciate it. Samex. I'm going to call you Samex, my friend, because that's where we're going to. But yeah, I would actually, if again, I will say I've never played any of these games. But I like how this one is edited in such a way and that has a good layout and stuff, and clearly has a theme and an idea. Whereas the one we looked at today, they're just general themes, but there's no art, there's no game designer commentary on these things. There's no like, here's what I was thinking of and here's how I play it. Like I'm a big fan of understanding why people have created games. So yeah, I absolutely. I mean, see how you feel about. Hang on, thoughts. So I would say if you're interested in checking out Solitaire by Jeeyon Shim, do check it out for sure. Here's a link to it. I feel like the layout could have been better. I do think it maybe is like a. This is an example of my work. I don't think you'll ever play these games. I'll be honest, and that's okay. They're more about like enjoying the work of it. But I do think, like, my recommendation for trying out lots of games. Again, this is not a solo RPG ones, but there's lots of different ones. And reading about it, and again, these games you might not play, but I think it gives you the way the layout is. It gives you the motivation and the like. It gives you all the tools you need to run these games. Which I think some of these games, it gives me no motivation to consider running them, which I think is a really big part of it. Anyway, there you go. I'll maybe talk about. Maybe I should put hashtag feminism at some point. I thought there was a bug on it then. No, it's just a bit of dirt. But yes, actually, when was it? When did it come out? Oh look, sorry. You've got your own example there, and then you've got your. You can copy that template. It's very good on the back page. Very much like that. Right, when did it come out? Sorry, this is very important to me. Oh, this came out 2017. And the first edition came out 2016. So yeah, so this was it came out before this one. Again, as I said, it is just more like for me, like there's no motivation to play any of the Solitaire games per se. Like it doesn't like again, it's something to think about. I'm glad that we looked at it through today. But then I always think like I want to get excited about empowering people to play solo RPGs. And we already discussed in the chat about like The Wretched, Jude's World, The Death of the Author, like all these different games which are exciting because they have a good theme to them and they've got a really good like what's the theme? What's the aim of it? And to get a specific experience out of it. Whereas I think it's a little bit more it's not as clear. It's a bit sort of all over the place, which is fine, but I don't know if I could recommend paying $20 for these games per se. But I very much appreciate that we had a look at them anyway. Right, okay, friends, that is it. Like again, we finished quite early today because again it was a shorter thing. But thank you so much for being here with me. If you're interested, please go check out What Am I Rolling? She says, which is where you can find all that I'm up to. What Am I Rolling? The tabletop RPG podcast, where we do lots of one shots and stuff. Sometimes we do solo RPGs. Currently, right now, I'm doing some world building, just to get back into stuff. Really. I also, if you're like, I only play D&D, I'm like, yeah, whatever. Check out the D&D, the DM's Book Club, which is a weekly book club podcast where myself and my co-host Hamilton read the books, so you guys don't have to. And again, we are two British people desperately trying to do stuff of the desperately trying to find out more about the game and the lore and stuff like that, and make it work for our own stories and own games. Similar to that Muppet RPG you streamed, where hang on, my eyes are rubbish there. Why can't I see what you said there? Hang on a second. Nice video. Yes, I tell you. Assumed. Where are you going with this? What are we exploring about ourselves? It's all fun in the end, I suppose. Yeah, no, exactly. Yes, I see what you mean. Yeah, similar to that Muppet RPG. So the Land of Eve I did. Yeah, where are we going with it? What are we exploring about ourselves? Yeah, I think honestly, like again, letting people know at the top of RPGs what the aim of the game is makes it more likely to go. It's it's what I call setting expectations. Because I have this philosophy, and I've maybe said it before on these particular streams, is that people are willing to put up with a bad board game, but people are not willing to risk an RPG that might last 2 or 3 sessions, unless you set the expectation that A, it will last that long, and B, what the rules are and all that sort of thing. Because I don't know about you guys, I've sat through many an explanation, of a board game and gone, oh, sounds dreadful, but you're like, it's going to be over soon. It's going to be over in 3 hours. And then we go, okay, how do we find that game? We go, oh, I get it now. Yeah, I'll play it again. Because you have to go through the growing pains period of like learning something new. I think role-playing games, because they've got board game elements, let's face it, you know, like you want to make it as easy as possible for people to get it and run away and then make their own decisions and all creative stuff about it. Because it's all the point of role-playing games, is making stories. If you really struggle to understand a game from the mechanics point of view, I think that's half the battle, right? If you get simple mechanics and someone that's willing to tell you, help you out with the rules and like sets those expectations up in advance, you are more likely you'd want to come back for episode 2. And that's why I sort of go on about like a Good Society. We talked about the birthday, which was that solo map crawl that Kieran talked about earlier. I think it's like, I love Good Society games. I absolutely love them, but there's no way you can convince someone who isn't already a Jane Austen fan or has played lots of RPGs to play it otherwise, because for a full experience of those games, you need 6 to 8 sessions. If you're brand new to RPGs or you just getting out of D&D, I think that's a hard sell. I absolutely think it's a hard sell. There you go. Right. Okay. Sorry. That was a long of things. We got some more tabletop RPGs. No, too long didn't read tabletop RPGs coming up. She says, having a look, see what we got on Friday. Ooh, on Friday we've got the D Sanctum, which is like a historic RPG set in the time of witchcraft, essentially. Like, oh no, my brain is completely gone. I was going to say Thomas Redford. That's absolutely not what I'm talking about. Oliver Cromwell. There we go. Sorry, my brain rebooted ever so slightly with the history stuff. It's in that sort of age, and that you're finding witches and stuff like that, I believe. It's got some great art in it, which I'm very excited for. It also got nominated for a UK Games Expo a couple of years ago, or at least the expansion, I think, won, actually. So it'll be exciting to look at that. That's tomorrow. God, it's tomorrow. Friday's tomorrow. Oh. Then next week, just to keep people coming back for more, perhaps, we've got our last best hope. Although I've called it our best last hope, so I'm going to have to change the title there to make sure it actually reflects what it is, which is like a sci-fi RPG, which will be interesting to see. Then we've got The Plays the Thing on Thursday. And then finally, next Friday, we've got Eat the Reich, the sort of quick start on that, because obviously Eat the Reich is now out. And yeah, it'd be nice to actually have a look at it, because I have not actually looked at it. We looked at Hollows last Friday. So yeah, we're continuing our theme of like Rowan Rook Descartes Fridays, except for tomorrow when we're doing the D Sanctum. I've really enjoyed a few games with questions like those in the bird games. Oh, hang on. Sorry. Kieran says, I really enjoyed a few games with questions like those in the bird games. I don't remember the names right now, but I'll put them in the Discord. Oh, thank you. So I think I might enjoy those ones specifically. Possibly some of the others as well, but I think the bird transformation is the one I'd most likely to play. Oh, in the Solitaire. Yes, she says, did I get it up? But Pin, Feathers and Cloud Studies. That's that one there about birds. I will say there is another one, which I think Avery Alder did, which is a similar one, that idea of transforming and picking up bird feathers. But I can't remember. Of course, I can't remember the name of the RPG anthology she did, or they did. I need to check pronouns for that, because I don't know their pronouns. Yeah, an interesting one. Yeah, the others are interesting, but I think you're right. I think that transformation one, it makes you, again, it's a thinking one, and all it is that you just need to be in discomfort a little bit, and then see the sky to see the part too. So I agree with that as well. Anyway, so those are all those coming up. Like I said, there's come back tomorrow at the same time, roughly about 11 a.m. Central Time, 5 p.m. BST time, or wherever it is your time zone. Thank you so much for bearing with me as I'm like trying these things out. And yeah, I'll double check what happened to OBS. That was really weird. But very much appreciate you folks being with me. Thanks for the stream. Oh, thank you, Amanda Panda. Very much appreciate you being here. I hope it was something a little bit different. So yeah. Right. I will find the off button, she says, looking around as if it's moved. It hasn't moved. Thanks so much. Keep playing games, and I will see you shortly. Bye.